Raw was already in turmoil. The divorce card segment had just played out on the big screen, and Seth Rollins, with that smug, infuriating grin, thought he had gotten the upper hand. He leaned back in his chair backstage, laughing, waving the cards like a victory flag. But he hadn't accounted for one thing: Becky Lynch. Becky had been seething all night. Every word Seth had spoken, every smirk, every dismissive glance had built a pressure cooker of fury inside her. The cameras didn't catch what was happening backstage, but in the locker room corridors, tension was electric. Seth stood, tossing a card onto the table, leaning casually against the wall. "Well, Becky, looks like we're done. End of story," he said, his voice laced with arrogance. He didn't notice her shadow fall across the doorway. The moment their eyes met, the room seemed to freeze. Becky's glare was icy, deadly, and electric. Her chest heaved, and the faint tremor of contained fury ran through her. Seth laughed nervously. "What's the matter? You look upset?" That was the spark. Becky snapped. She charged, and the first blow landed squarely on Seth's jaw, a sharp, deafening crack echoing through the corridor. He staggered back, completely shocked. No one had ever seen Becky attack like this. She wasn't just angry, she was a storm, unleashed. The brawl escalated instantly. Becky swung with precision and ferocity, striking Seth with fists, forearms, and elbows, her movements a mixture of trained technique and raw, untamed rage. Each punch, each strike, was punctuated with her guttural growls of anger. Seth tried to defend, throwing counters, but Becky anticipated his every move, cutting him off, slamming him against lockers and walls. Security personnel scrambled, trying to intervene, but Becky's speed and intensity were overwhelming. She ducked under grabs, spun around corners, and delivered a brutal knee to Seth's midsection, sending him crashing to the floor. The staff froze in shock. Never before had they seen Becky so relentless. Every strike told a story: betrayal, humiliation, and a searing declaration of power. Seth, finally gathering himself, tried to flee, only for Becky to catch him mid-step with a vicious DDT onto the floor. The corridor reverberated with the impact, and staff gasped, shielding their eyes from the intensity of the attack. The cameras, streaming backstage footage, captured glimpses of chaos: papers flying, chairs overturned, Seth writhing in pain, Becky standing over him like a warrior asserting dominance. Commentators' voices echoed over the live feed, incredulous and urgent. "Becky Lynch, this is insane. I've never seen her like this. She's absolutely brutal." Corey Graves shouted. Michael Cole added, voice cracking, "Seth Rollins is getting destroyed backstage, and the WWE Universe is losing their minds." The fight spilled toward the production area. Becky grabbed a nearby metal crate, swung it toward Seth but stopped just short of striking, letting him know that her fury was calculated, precise, not mindless. Seth scrambled, clutching his ribs, panic in his eyes. He realized too late Becky wasn't playing games. This was personal, and it was unforgiving. Fans watching at home went wild. Social media erupted within seconds. Clips of the backstage brawl flooded Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit. Hashtags like hashtag Becky Lynch Rampage, hashtag Seth Destroyed, and hashtag Raw Chaos dominated worldwide. Fans were exhilarated, furious, and obsessed. Every replay, every freeze frame, every slow-motion shot of Becky's strikes was analyzed and celebrated. Backstage, Seth tried to regain his composure, yelling for backup, but Becky cut him off with a vicious roundhouse kick that sent him sprawling into the wall. He slid down, clutching his head, breathing hard. Becky stood over him, chest heaving, her hair wild, eyes blazing with fury. She didn't say a word, her silence screamed volumes. The WWE Universe watched, mesmerized. This wasn't just a fight, this was a declaration. Becky had transformed backstage into her arena, and Seth Rollins was its unwilling participant. Fans flooded comments sections: "Becky is unhinged. Love it, Seth got what he deserved. This is the most brutal backstage attack ever." The outrage and excitement were global, making the segment go viral within minutes. Finally, security managed to get in, creating a temporary barrier. Becky, panting and furious, didn't stop glaring. Seth, bruised and humiliated, was dragged away, clutching his ribs and jaw, whispering threats he couldn't follow through on. Becky remained standing, victorious, unbroken, and unstoppable. The aftermath of Becky Lynch's brutal backstage assault on Seth Rollins was nothing short of chaotic. WWE management scrambled to assess the damage. Cameras captured Stephanie McMahon and Triple H huddled in urgent discussion, clearly concerned about the fallout. Triple H's face was grim. "This isn't just a brawl," he said. "Becky's actions are going to shake up Raw, the locker room, and the storyline. We need to contain it, but she's a storm we can't control." Backstage, Seth Rollins nursed his injuries, bruised, battered, and humiliated. The locker room buzzed with tension. Superstars whispered to each other, glancing nervously at Becky as she walked past, her presence magnetic and intimidating. Damian Priest muttered, "I've seen a lot of fights, but that was next-level aggression. Even veterans like Kevin Owens and Finn Balor looked uneasy that Becky had transformed into a powerhouse nobody wanted to cross. The live crowd at Raw could sense the tension building. The segment that followed was charged with energy. Seth appeared on the Titantron, limping but defiant, trying to save face. "Becky Lynch thinks she can humiliate me," he said, voice trembling slightly. "But everyone will see, she may have won the hallway battle, but the war is far from over." The audience erupted into boos, chanting Becky's name instead. Social media exploded. Clips of Becky's relentless assault went viral, trending across Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit. Fans were exhilarated, calling her actions savage, unstoppable, and perfectly justified. Hashtags like #BeckyUnleashed, #SethDestroyed, and #RawBackstageChaos dominated worldwide. Viewers dissected every punch, kick, and slam, sharing reactions and slow-motion GIFs. WWE used this momentum to build an intense storyline. Becky's next appearances were designed to amplify her dominance. Every segment emphasized her fierce independence, her refusal to back down, and her raw aggression. She stalked backstage corridors like a predator, eyes scanning for Seth or anyone foolish enough to challenge her. Seth, meanwhile, tried to plot retaliation. He spoke with other superstars, attempting to recruit allies for a counterattack. But Becky's aura of dominance and fear made this difficult. She didn't just intimidate Seth, she unsettled the entire locker room. Superstars who normally walked confidently now hesitated when passing her. Her raw physicality, her unrelenting aggression, had established a new hierarchy in WWE. Becky was untouchable, and Seth had learned that the hard way. Fan engagement reached a fever pitch. Every comment section, every post, every forum thread dissected the brawl. "Becky is insane and I love it," wrote one fan. "Seth got his comeuppance. That's brutal," posted another. The anger, the excitement, the shock. WWE had successfully tapped into a global frenzy of fan obsession. The narrative was no longer just about a storyline, it had become a cultural moment within the wrestling community. Backstage interviews captured the lingering tension. Kevin Owens, being asked about Becky, said, "She's fierce. You do not want to cross her right now." Seth learned that the hard way. "I've never seen her like this." Damian Priest added, "That wasn't just a fight, it was a statement. Becky's making it clear she sets the rules, and no one is above her." As Raw progressed, Seth attempted to confront Becky again in a controlled segment, but she turned the tables instantly. A glare, a step forward, and Seth retreated, realizing that Becky wasn't playing games. This was psychological and physical dominance, perfected. Every move Becky made sent the message, "I control this narrative, and you are not ready for me." The storyline momentum carried into the next week's Raw. Becky's presence backstage, her interactions with other superstars, and the looming threat of further confrontation with Seth kept fans on edge. Commentators hyped the tension constantly. Corey Graves exclaimed, "Becky Lynch has rewritten the rules of engagement in WWE. Nobody is safe, not Seth, not anyone. She's a force of nature." Michael Cole added, "The WWE Universe is watching in awe and terror. This is the most brutal backstage segment in recent memory." Seth, desperate to reclaim his pride, made increasingly reckless attempts to corner Becky. But every time, she countered with precision, ferocity, and dominance. The WWE Universe, both live and online, watched with bated breath. Every segment, every sneak peek, every Titantron highlight fueled the narrative. Fans were debating tactics, predicting outcomes, and clamoring for the inevitable showdown. Eventually, WWE announced a high-stakes singles match between Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins at the next major pay-per-view. The anticipation was electric. Fans shared clips of the backstage brawl, posting reactions, GIFs, and memes. The story had transcended a typical feud, it had become a full-blown spectacle, and the world was watching. Becky Lynch, standing backstage, hair wild, fists clenched, and eyes burning with fury, became the central figure of Raw's narrative. She wasn't just a competitor, she was an unstoppable force, a symbol of raw power, and a figure that demanded attention. Seth Rollins had been humiliated, and now the WWE Universe waited in suspense to see how and if he could recover. The segment closed with Becky standing tall, Titantron footage of the assault replaying, and commentary reinforcing the danger she represented. Corey Graves said, voice filled with awe, "Becky Lynch has changed Raw forever tonight. Seth Rollins is wounded, humiliated, and he knows it. The question is, can anyone survive when she's unleashed?" Fans everywhere were left furious, exhilarated, and desperate for the next chapter. WWE had created a perfect storm, a backstage ambush, raw aggression, fan outrage, and a storyline that demanded engagement, commentary, and sharing. Becky Lynch had not just fought, she had asserted dominance in a way that would echo through WWE for months to come. The narrative was set. Seth Rollins vs. Becky Lynch wasn't just a match, it was a war, born from betrayal, aggression, and unstoppable fury. The WWE Universe had witnessed a spectacle that would be remembered forever. Becky Lynch, unleashed, brutal, and untouchable.